So our dining room is not really big enough, but it was the best I could do when we built the house. This bronze table that I made used to be in that corner, and it was okay as long as people weren't trying to get around, because it kind of stuck out and it's got a sharp edge. So it was like to here, so it really impeded this chair and getting into this chair. And I made these chairs with arms, and they're kind of inconvenient. If I had it to do over again, I would build chairs with no arms, but I'm not going to start over now. So anyway, we have no place to put silverware, paper napkins, stuff like that. So I thought I'd make 2 corner cabinets, and I got a size mocked up here in cardboard. And I'm waiting for my bride to come home to give me the blessing, because this is kind of a major deal here. In the meantime, I'm going to pull some wood down out of the attic and start dressing it. I've got some very, very, very old cypress that I would like to use. So let's get started. So these boards have been up in this carport attic of our house since we moved here 21 years ago. I don't remember where I kept them before that, but I've had them longer. So I'm going to take down 6 of them and clean them up and see what they look like. I think 6 boards will make the whole cabinet. And my old hardwood fence boards, I was thinking I only had this many left, but I got a pretty good stack over there. So I'm going to run out of life before I run out of boards, I think. It looks like I pressure washed these at one time. Probably when I got them home and they were covered with mud. Must have pressure washed them, which means I probably got them when we were in this house. Man, I just can't remember how long it's been. So I'm preparing these boards to run through the planer. First thing I'm doing is cutting off the ragged edges, because there's no sense in using planer time to cut wood that's going to go in the garbage anyway. I did hit it with a wire brush. I did hit it with a wire brush and the vacuum cleaner, because dirt and sharp knives don't go together. So yeah, one by one I'm going to dress this board. This one has the big cup in it, so I'll probably rip it down the middle to get most of that cup out instead of just trying to plane it all the way. But yeah, these are going to be nice. So I planed one the other week, well, Thanksgiving morning actually, because I didn't really know what they were. I thought they probably would have been pine since they were just burying them in the ground. But it turns out they're very nice cypress, and they got a nice patina on them, like a sinker cypress, which I guess basically they are, because they were on the ground for right at 100 years. So our stack of boards is ready to run through the thickness planer. I've taken a wire brush and removed most of the dirt. I've removed the edges, which won't be any good to anybody anyway. And the ones that had a bad bow, I ripped them down the middle so I wouldn't have to remove so much material. Now, I'm not going to try to get these all the same thickness, because they're probably going to, well, they are going to get resawn anyway. And then I run them through the planer again. So I just want a smooth side on both sides, so I can pick and choose the boards to build the 2 little cabinets I want to build. New Orleans gets its drinking water supply from the Mississippi River. So there are pump stations. There is 2 pump stations, I believe, that pump water from the river to the plant where they treat the water. The one that I worked on, called the Oak Street Pump Station, was commissioned in 1916, and according to my friend Chip, the job we did was in 2003. So the pump station was 107 years old when we got this contract to replace one of the existing pipes that goes from the river to the pump station. Now, when this pump station was built, these lines were laid horizontally and the levees were built over them. This is cast iron pipe, lead joint. I think it was 48 inch if I remember correctly. Now, over the years, the levee has subsided, and the Corps has fears that this pipe, instead of running horizontal, may be like a big reverse curve as the dirt pushes it down. They're concerned it might come uncoupled, and if the river was high when this happened, it'd be a terrible thing. They wouldn't be able to stop the water. So all the new pipes go over the levee with a big vacuum pump station at the top to get the air out of them, and we replaced I think the last old one that was under the levee with a new pipe that went over the top. And to do this, we had to dig up the existing pipe and tie into it on the river side of the levee, which they call a batcher, and right outside the pump station. These were very deep excavations. So we get down to this pipe, which is 100 years old, and it was laid on lumber, which was kind of the norm. I think it still is, because when you get in a deep hole in New Orleans, it's just mud. You can't stand up. You can't do anything. So in order to like stabilize this existing material, they often use wood mats to let the crews get down there. This was lead joint pipe, so even after it was laid, there's quite a bit of labor to get down in there and do the lead joint. So when we pulled out that piece by the pump station, I grabbed the boards that it was laid on, and that's what these are, and brought them home and put them in my attic. So these boards were underground for about 107 years. They did not rot because there's no oxygen that far down in that mud, so they're pretty much as good as the day they were thrown down there. They do have a little bit of patina, a gray patina, which I think is really pretty. So this is a material we're using to build this little corner cabinet. Okay, I've got blessing on the size of the cabinet. Now this is where the more harder part begins. I need to pick out the boards that I want for the top, because they're really going to show. But I don't want the full thickness here, so I'm going to resaw these. And I've never had much luck resawing 12 inches, although my saw theoretically will do that. I'm going to cut them in half with the table saw and then resaw them. And these are, they're all just under 2 inches. So if I resaw an inch and then glue them together and then plane them, the top will be at maybe right at 7/8 of an inch. And the remainders will be just under 3/4, right about 3/4, and I can use all that material for the door fronts and the drawers and all the other stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. I am going to pick out the boards for the tops, two tops, and then rip them in half and then resaw them, and we'll move from there. So after I got the boards, the wider boards ripped in half, I realized I can resaw these on the table saw just by making 2 passes. So that's what I did. Stayed away from that old bandsaw, which is sometimes the blade wanders if it's not super sharp, and you end up with these trapezoidal shapes, and it's just a mess. So I went with the old reliable table saw and resawed them on the table saw. I got my first group of boards stacked up, and they're ready to be jointed to like close this gap and make sure all the saw cuts are square. It's tempting to go ahead with the miter saw and cut this to shape, but it makes it really hard to clamp the glue joints later on. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to clamp it and then cut it. I'll have to cut it with a skill saw, but I can cut it straight. So okay, so we're gonna let's see, go ahead and joint this and clamp it and get it out the way. And I might clamp it in 2 different clamps. I might clamp these 3 together and then these 3 together, just to make it a little less awkward. Okay, the edges are jointed, and with just a little bit of clamping pressure, it pulled up tight. So now I'm having second thoughts. I think I might just clamp this all together at one time. This wood's so soft that I don't think I'm going to have a battle on my hands. A second top laid out. A little disappointed with the color of the remaining boards. They didn't have this green color. So what I'm thinking to do is cut this, and hopefully this piece could go up there, and there won't be enough left to really matter. But these 3, they have good color match. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put them on table saw and resaw them to an inch, and I'll have to bust this one in half, cut it to an inch, and then play with these scraps, and hopefully I can use some scraps over there so I don't have a color difference. I don't think it'll make that much difference on the door faces and the drawer faces, but on the top I kind of want them all the same. Okay, second top sorted out. Light clamping pressure pulled it all together, so I'm gonna take it back apart and glue it and clamp it and put it over there with the other top, and start scratching my head on the rest of the build. It's always a judgment call whether I wipe up the glue while it's still wet with a wet rag, but this wood is so soft. I'm pretty sure if I'd have tried to do that, it would have left smudges, and it would have been real hard to sand out. So I did not wipe up the glue, and now that it's dry, I can scrape it off, and I think everything will be lovely. Okay, with the framing square and a straight edge, I did my 45s. I'm gonna cut them out with a skill saw. Made it as big as I possibly could with the wood I had. I may have to trim them down later. I need to make them both the same size, I think. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the edges and make a triangle and start thinking about the face frames and what we're gonna do and how we're gonna do it. Okay, I got a cold and I'm coughing and gagging, but I will try to explain my next step. I've got a receptacle on the wall, and it's 27 inches from the corner, which is right here. So I didn't really want to move the receptacle or go over the receptacle or whatever. So I decided this is the end of the end, or the outside of the end. And I want about 1 inch and a little bit of overhang on the front. So from here to that corner is 5 1/4. So I ripped a piece of scrap plywood 5 1/4, and I ripped another one 2 1/4 or 2 1/2. So the sides are going to be just like yo. And I did another one on the other side, and now I can measure for the front stile, which there'll be one at the top. For the front stile, one will be at the top and one will be a little further down to encase a drawer, which is going to make my the two bottom doors are going to look kind of funky because this is a shorter cabinet than a kitchen cabinet, and I want a drawer and some doors, but I don't know what else to do about that. Anyway, I'm going to put a stile. I'm making all this out of junk wood so I can go inside and look at it and make sure it's what I want. And I'm not really going to put a toe kick, but I am going to put the bottom stile on the back of this. So whatever thickness material I have, I think it could be at least 3/4. The toe kick will be back 3/4, and then there'll be a platform and then 2 doors. So take a measurement and cut 2 stiles 2 inches, and I think I'll just throw some pocket screws in them. We'll put this together and then carry it inside. So this is the mock-up of my face frame. I think it'll be all right. I'm not sure about the toe kick recess, but anyway, let's bring it in. Okay, so not bad. This was what I had anticipated. That's as far over as I can go. I probably will cut these off a little bit. Something's crooked. I think this existing wall is not square, because I'm pretty sure my top is square. Now I can trim this and push it back that way. That's gonna make this overhang a little crooked maybe. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do some fiddling before I'm gonna have to take this into consideration to make sure that when I trim the tops to fit the walls, that they won't make the face frame crooked with the top. So I have to think about that. The bottom toe kick, I guess it's okay. I'll just leave this back 3/4. There'll be a shelf here. It'll flush out, and the doors will be flush, so they'll shut into that. I don't necessarily need a back, but I need a support here for the drawer because it's going to be triangular, so it's got to have bottom glides. Okay, a few things to think about, but now we can move forward. So the top is in the corner, and I scribed the wall with ink pen. So I'm gonna go cut this, belt sand the edge, and make sure this fits before I go any farther. And then if the Then if the legs fit the bottom of the top, everything should be copacetic. So now that the triangular tops are cut to fit the wall, this is no longer a right angle, which kind of changes everything up. So if I come out my 27 inches, turn a right angle and run out, and then put my 1 1/8 inch overhang in the front, I get 5 inches here, but I get 5 1/8 inches there, and I get 5 inches here. No, I get 5 inches here and 4 3/4 there, and I'm not sure if I want to do it that way. I think I do. I think I want to keep everything kind of the same. So, which is going to make it that I got to keep these things organized, which is not my strong suit, but we'll try. Okay, so I've got these 4 boards. This is left over from resawing the top, are a little thicker than these. If I can get my corners out of these 4, I can make them a little thicker, and the thin ones will be the panels for the doors. They can be really thin. So I'm gonna run these through the planer because they're not all the same thickness. Get them all the same thickness, and start putting my frames together, my face frames, that is. I got 3 boards prepped for the end walls, and unfortunately I didn't have another one wide enough. So I got a glue up going up over here. When that dries, we'll cut the 4th one. And all the rest of the boards that were at least 3/4, I planed them down to 3/4 because this will be 3/4, these will be 3/4. That can be anything. And the door frames, and I'm not sure about the drawer, but all needs to be 3/4. So I'm gonna need a bunch of 3/4 stuff. So I glued up some little dual purpose jigs. The first purpose is to help me glue up that outside corner of the finished boards, because that's really a hard thing to clamp. And the second purpose will be firewood in my fireplace. So I'm kind of stuck right now. These need to dry before I can glue my first pair, and this needs to dry as part of the second pair. Okay, so my dual purpose clamping jig in action. This is a dry fit. I got to take it back apart, and it does take a minute to get it right, but I cut a little notch here so that the glue squeeze out wouldn't glue my boards to the jig, and I cut a notch here so that this clamp could pull in a straight line to tighten that joint up. So I've got 3 of them. I'm gonna glue it, and the glue dries so fast on this dry wood, probably in an hour I can unclamp it and do my second one, and my third one, and my fourth one. My first 2 stiles are glued up and sitting in place so I can measure and install my rails, but I want to make a change. This is my kind of template mock-up deal. I don't think this drawer is deep enough to be practical, so I'm going to reduce the size, the dimension of the rails. This is a full 2 inch. I'm gonna go 1.5 inch and 3/4, and 1 3/4 inch, and that'll give me another 1/2 inch. And then I'm just gonna open it a 1/2 inch in addition to that. So instead of being 3, it'll be a full 4 inches. I think that's look better and be more practical for a drawer, a triangular drawer this big. So my 2 stiles are cut. And I got pocket holes drilled, and I'm ready to screw it and glue it together. I got 2 little spacers to make sure I get this one parallel with the top one, but I don't think that joint is going to be strong enough. You can see right here that the top has a little warp to it, so I'll need to pull the top down, and I'm going to double back here and have an overlapping joint. And on this one, the drawer is going to hang on this one. And so I don't want this one to fail. I'll probably double it up too. But the pocket screws will hold it in place until I get some reinforcement on the back. They're easy and quick. I just, for this application, this wood's so soft. I probably should have done a mortise and tenon, but I just can't really do those anymore. I don't see well enough and my hands shake too much. So we're gonna do it a different way, but it's gonna be strong.
And their Santa is just become this giant flame. And for the first time, he is so psyched. He's loving being in the book. fine on me. And then the book says, but probably not. You know, you'd expect that a book like this, which is mostly a joke book, I thought of it as a joke book, like one of those old 50s and 60s kid joke books where you just do a bunch of different scenarios and blown-off illustrations. But what really nailed it for me and what I wanted to make sure that we landed was the ending. We landed in a way that's very gentle and soft. And it just I think we don't want to know how he does it. We don't want to know how the magician does the mystery, the wonder, the impossibility is the point. It's beautiful to kind of face the impossible. I love that Santa makes us do that. Up on the housetop, down to the chimney below, Saint Nick.
Okay, I got a little progress here. I have glued and screwed the rails, and since this rail is going to hold up the drawer sticking out, and that's not much wood right there, I glued a little backer to kind of give it some strength. And then I screwed, these are what's going to screw to the wall. I made them a little smaller than actual dimensions because the walls are always bumpy, so I figured if I made it exactly, I'd have some problems getting it together. And I got the same thing over here. You know, obviously it's upside down, but I got the rails screwed with pocket screws, and then I got a backer to make it stronger. And I got the support for the wall. And I got my two drawer glides that are gonna go in here for the triangular drawer. And I hadn't figured that out yet. We'll figure it out soon. Now I also glued and clamped this little strip. So this is here so that I'll be able to screw the top down from underneath. I don't know how much room I'm gonna be able to get with the drawer in here, but I did one on both sides, on both cabinets. And it's kind of chilly today, so I think I'm gonna set them to the side and not mess with them for a little while. And bring them inside, make sure they fit so far, and then I gotta do a base. I'm not quite ready to do doors and drawers. I gotta do the bases. I decided to push the toe kick back about 5/8 of an inch. So I put a little block on each end and glued it, and then glued the toe kick to it. This is one of those situations where I would have probably got a better result if I would have done this in two different gluing operations. Glue the blocks first and let them set, and then glue the toe kick, or get my little pin nailer, which shoots a nail real small that you can't even hardly see, and glue the blocks and pin them, and then glue the other stuff, because once you start pulling down on the clamps, everything wants to move. You smear glue. I smeared glue that I didn't want to. Just not one of my smoother operations, but I'm glad I pushed the toe kick back. I think it makes it look a lot better. Okay, all the clamps are off. I brought them inside to check them out. And this one fits pretty doggone good. I just need to make a floor for it. This one, I'm glad I checked. There's a serious lump in the wall right here. So if I kick the bottom in, the top comes out. If I kick the top in, the bottom comes out. So I need to scribe that. This side fits pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna cut this at a 45, knowing that a board never fits in the corner of sheetrock because there's a bunch of sheetrock mud right there. So I'm gonna go get the tops and see if they're okay. And if everything's lovely, I'll cut that little curve and I'll start making the bottom shelf. Okay, the first carcass is jammed tight to the wall with some weights. Happen to be bronze sculpture, but they're very heavy. And I've got some little blocks cut the same width as the toe kick. And I got some strips of cardboard. I'm gonna make a template for that bottom part. I'm just going to glue it and clamp it together. And in about 15 minutes, I should be able to get it out and do the other one. Okay, template number 2 is ready to come out. Let me take them out and go outside and see what kind of plywood I have enough of to make bottoms. I'm going to label it to make sure I don't get it upside down because it wouldn't fit. So this is the stair side and this is the top. Now I'm going to make the bottom out of this. This is a lumber core plywood. If you look at it real close, it's a bunch of boards glued together with a veneer, and it's probably a mahogany. It's got a dark stain on it. I'll get that off. But out of this one, I can get most of a bottom, and I'll need a little piece. Out of that one, I'll just get part of a bottom, and I can finish it with this. Unfortunately, if I flip it around, it's not quite long enough, so I can't get the big part out of here. So we'll get a little part, big part, little part. Cut them, and I got them marked already as accurately as I can, and we'll glue them up. And probably have to move them in my wife's studio because it's cold. It's getting cold tonight, and I think 50 degrees is the limit for the yellow glue I have, and it's supposed to get in the 30s. So we'll clamp them, and I'll drag them next door. Okay, we've got both bottoms glued up. They're both oversized. I'll have to cut both of them to shape after the glue dries, but they're going to be good. And because this is lumber core plywood, it edge glues really well. It's not like regular plywood, so this will be good. Tabletops are glued and the glue is dry, and I'm putting some paint stripper on them to try to kind of clean up some of this old finish and some of this red stain. Make it a little less sanding I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna scrape this stuff off now. So the excess paint stripper scraped up, thrown in the garbage can, and then I use sawdust to kind of dry everything out, get it cleaned up. Now I'm gonna put some sander. Now we're gonna sand it, try to get an even color. Unfortunately, this red didn't come out, but it doesn't matter. It's behind the doors on the bottom of the cabinet. So I screwed some little supports to the back, bottom, underneath the bottom shelf to hold it up at the same elevation as the toe kick. Now it'll get glued to the toe kick. The back will just be kind of flopping in the breeze until final installation. I'm gonna put some pocket holes so I can pocket screw it to the existing baseboard. Okay, we have good fittage on both of the bottoms. That one fits a little better than this one. This one doesn't want to go back quite as far as it should. I may run that edge along the joiner. So I'm gonna go outside and glue this and put a piece of cypress on the front of this, bring it out to this vertical surface because the doors will shut against that. And then I'm gonna start working on the doors and the drawers. Cabinet bottoms are clamped into place on the toe kick board. I have drilled for pocket screws. I'm going to put a pocket screw there into here, the same on the other side. And then I'm going to put a strip of the pretty cypress to bring this out flush with the face frame so the doors can swing and hit the front of that. Yeah, but so far so good. And when it's in place for the final time, I put some pocket screws here into the baseboard, and I have some little wooden plugs that should hide those pocket screws. So I got the front edge of both carcasses glued to finish up that edge. So now it is time to make doors and drawer frames.